Hey, we're live. Welcome to the Gordox Pub.
Where the drinks go down, but we don't.
Good call. Good call.
Anyway. So tonight we're gonna color in model.
We're not going to color anything in. We're inking.
Okay, we're inking.
And
Sorry.
I'm not done. I'm not done with Shepherd yet.
Okay.
So, well, there's a little bit to go on this cape, and there's a little bit to go on the arm behind her. Though I'm going to downplay most of the detail in the arm behind her, so that I can bring her out contrast-wise. And then I guess the last thing I'm doing is the rim. But the first thing I have to do is finish Shepherd. So I bought these new pens. They're Funasuki combos. It wasn't what I thought when I grabbed them, but they are they're liner pens instead of that's not it. Instead of the calligraphy pens.
Okay.
So there's different sizes, 1, 3, and 5. But they are water-based pigments.
Okay.
Which means effectively that they are safe. So I didn't get a chance to mention it before we went live, but Dane had commented on a video when I was doing Amanda's video, or Amanda's piece. He commented several times and we missed it.
Really?
And he kind of took umbrage to it. yeah, he did. And I don't know if he commented, actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if he commented during the video or after the video, but I went back and looked because he said something, and yep, there was comment.
Now I'm just curious.
We were talking about something, Dune, I think, because he said something about he had bought Dune or something. And then he said something about, it seems you guys aren't paying attention to these, so I'm like, okay, well, no, I wasn't, but it wasn't that I wasn't paying attention, it was that I was focusing on the artwork, and that's normally what I do, but if he wrote it afterwards, then I might not have checked the studio. So I'm not sure if that's on me or on you or whatever, but I guess I'm mentioning it so that we're both more diligent. Because I don't want to have anybody feel like we're not paying attention to them or we don't value their comments, because we value pretty much everyone's comments, even if we don't agree with them, right?
Sure. Yes.
There's somebody's comments that you don't value?
Depends on the comment.
I don't know. Even facetious comments. Like I did erase one comment because it was only there to be insulting and
So that's what I mean.
had no benefit to anybody else. But I read the comment.
Oh.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have known it was only there to be insulting, right? That was the one that was claiming that I started the David Finch fan server so that I could advertise this channel with some crap.
Oh yeah.
And the irony in that is that David Finch and Eric Grove started the David Finch channel. I was asked to mod just before they stopped using the David Finch channel. So I do use it to promote this channel, but there's a section specifically for promoting your channel. So I don't feel like I'm, going off the reservation there or being self-serving any more than anybody else is, because that's the intent.
Okay, so here's a question for you. And this might be something that only you can do.
Uh-oh.
No, I went and I pulled up the YouTube thing. The last time you were working on the thing for your wife, and it says live chat replay was turned off for this video.
So
Right.
Oh,
But I can go into the.
oh, there they are.
I can go
Yeah,
into
now
the
I can see
comments.
something.
The comments usually that were done afterwards are under the video. I did respond to him after he mentioned it, but I hadn't noticed before, so I don't even really put that on you, because now that I think about it, it's just the only one that would have had access would be me.
Trying to see if I can find out more. So far, the answer is no.
What's that?
If I can find out anything.
Find out anything about you're a mod there, which means that you can post links and you can kick people out and stuff, but so is he. Dan was like, I think the first person I modded.
Well, I remember the discussion about peacocking.
Right?
But I don't remember. Oh well. Well, definitely not perfect.
No.
But I mean, even like last time,
Jay popped in and said something, and I was on the wrong thing on stream, on StreamYard. And as soon as I saw that, I responded, because I normally do. Luckily, I'd only been like a minute, which is one of those stupid mistakes about being in the wrong. I mean, you get a little red dot that says, hey, you got a comment, but that's not quite the same.
okay. Interesting. And now Twitch isn't showing me anything, but it's probably just me. Well, we've had rain and stuff all day. I just reloaded. We're fine. But I've got two different internet networks, and one of them is down right now. Probably won't be back till tomorrow. But that also means that, like,
my wife is watching TV downstairs, and so it's on the same network as this. So usually it's, separate things, so I can hog bandwidth if I want it. So, have you ever heard of Aristotle's unities?
No.
Okay, so let me get into Professor Brett mode. Aristotle had these ideas that he called the unities that were for place.
Aristotle and his fucking ideas.
And like, there's the unity of time where preferably the entire story takes place in one day. Unity of place, it takes place in one setting. So okay, these are pretty outdated ideas. But I was watching a video today about how to add more excitement to your prose, right? And the guy had 4 different tips, and sometimes I watch these videos and I don't learn a damn thing. Sometimes, you do, whatever. Because after a while, it comes down to get your butt in the chair and get some writing done. But one of his things, he said he was working with a client, working on his novel. Like they were planning stuff out, and it was a heist story. You know how I love my heist stories.
Oh yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, and so the guy making the video is like, "How long is this supposed to take? Like over like what kind of time frame?" And the guy's like, 2 weeks. And the video guy was like, "Can you do it in 1 week?" Because like, yeah. Okay, maybe. Yeah, I think we could do that. How about in 3 days? How about in a day? Like he was forcing everything in, so you're constantly having to be moving because you got to get all this stuff done. And I thought it was interesting because if that kind of thing generally works, because again, every technique, it's a tool. Sometimes you need a hammer. Sometimes you need a screwdriver. I get it. There is no one universal tool other than get some words on a page. But I thought it was interesting because really what that guy was getting back to was Aristotle's unity of time. Have the whole story take place in, the smallest amount of time possible. Now, obviously that can't work for super huge grand epics, and there's all kinds, but if you look at like Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker was like on Dagobah for like 3 days. If you really pay attention to like there's no way he could have been there for too long.
Well, he did some Jedi training, so he had to get it for a while. Like, you can't do that Jedi training in 3 days, right?
Well, except for it's juxtaposed with what's going on with Han and Princess Leia and C-3PO and Chewbacca on Cloud City. And so since they're not at Cloud City for very long...
How do you know? They were in prison cells, they were tortured, they had to, there's no real indication that there's been a large amount of time there. And it's one of the major complaints that nitpicks people try to have. I don't worry about it. Because I think they do show that there was time that passed. Although the time that passed, Vader was there, so couldn't have been awful much. But one of the things that you got to keep in mind also is that it takes time to get there. It takes time to, either way. How long did it take to get to Dagobah versus how long did it take to get to Cloud City?
Well, no matter what, it's also how long does it take to get from Dagobah to Cloud City?
Well, that's also a factor.
I'm saying, so that eats into the amount of time that he could have spent on Dagobah is not very long. And I'm okay with that, but you can kind of see where the script speeds things up, because if we sat around Dagobah while Luke was trained for 5 years, it would be boring. So instead, we get a little tiny bit, and we're moving the story along. And I just thought it was interesting. It was an interesting connection that, as much as I don't agree with a lot of the unities, I think there might be something to them technique-wise that wouldn't necessarily hurt some stories. So that's all. It's just kind of a weird. I happen to be teaching the unities, and then I watched this video about writing, and I realized that he's really talking about, at least on one of them, unity of time, but he's looking at it from a different perspective. In that if you want to increase the energy in a text, you cut out the downtime. Force it to go faster.
Right?
That's all. Just an interesting.
Not too much there. Don't like it. I have noticed that this Posca works much better on this type of paper, this Bristol board. Maybe it's the tooth, I don't know what it is, but then like copy paper or any of the other stuff
Jake.
I've tried it on.
See?
Hey.
JK by at 8:32, I immediately recognized him.
That's diligence. All right.
We're trying. Look, when I'm ignoring you, you'll know I'm ignoring you.
Yeah, like I wasn't casting blame. I just wanted to mention it because I didn't notice it. I didn't think about it, and I didn't know if you did notice it or think about it. Like I don't think about going back and looking for comments unless something pops up, and it does generally when I check my creator dashboard, but sometimes it just doesn't.
It looks more like we just missed it, so I just missed it or something. I don't know. I mean, the peacocking thing.
Yeah, but he watched
we
the
talked
video
about
after we did it, and we couldn't have really missed it.
Okay, but I would rather just assume that we missed it and try to do better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's what my thing was, is that let's, at least me try to be better about it.
But it really just, I mean, some of that stuff just kind of depends.
Right. Like for me, I really do think that it was not paying attention. Like every night I'll go back and check to see how the stats are, right?
Yeah.
So I just missed that there was comments when I went and checked about the stats. Is really what it ended up being. Or that's what it feels like it ended up being. Anyway.
So, you know how? I mean, you're familiar with, like Nerdrotic and the Friday Night Tights group.
So familiar would be a loose term.
That's
I know who you're talking about, but I never watched them.
Okay.
Just to clarify what I mean by that.
Several of them, I mean, they've all been very critical of Disney, and that's fine, whatever, I don't care.
That's what their channel's based on.
Right, but...
That's what I understand their channel's based on anyways.
Well, I don't know if it's based on that, but...
Disney and Star Wars, they're critical on Disney and Star Wars is what I understand that channel is.
Oh, and Marvel, they're, I mean, again, they are
Marvel,
definitely critical
Disney.
of things.
Marvel,
But they're also
Disney.
critical, I mean, there are other things they talk about, but...
Okay, I'm sure, but like the extent of my knowledge on them is what other YouTubers like Ethan Van Sciver or John Malin or those guys have actually mentioned. It's actually more Ethan Van Sciver than anyone else.
Well,
I don't think John pays awful much attention to anybody else, which is probably a good idea.
Several of them have done videos about the Silver Surfer casting of that woman.
Right.
And I have a hard time. I guess I have a hard time believing that casting, at least the idea that you're going to have a female Silver Surfer, I would guess occurred well before that proxy fight with Disney. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, you don't make a movie in 10 minutes.
Right. And so when people are complaining about it, and I'm not really thrilled with that idea, but I also, that's just proof that Disney is never going to change. And I'm okay saying that they're probably right. But I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that proves Bob Iger was lying when he said that they're going to focus on telling stories and because I would think they would have to know that more than likely that decision was made long before the proxy fight, at least to some extent, and you cannot course correct a ship that large that quickly. So you have to expect some of this stuff to carry over, no matter what. So, I don't know,
like I said, it's one of those channels that really, the success of that channel is based on bitching about the current paradigm in Marvel or current paradigm in Disney. That's what their shtick is, so if you're watching them, chances
it's also comics and...
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that's actually what they founded their channel on. So if you're watching them, that's their grassroots,
I get it, but
I'm not saying it's right, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that most of their fans already know that that's what they're going to bitch about. And if they're not bitching about that, they don't get the same ratings because that's what their fans are there for. Not to say that it's right, to say that that's critical thinking, you know what I mean? In fact, I don't think it is critical thinking very well. The same thing as what you're saying, that stuff doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But, I mean, on the one hand, but then on the other hand, they could change some stuff like programming or whatever very quickly because they've done it when they were going the opposite way. So, where does that leave us, right?
I think it leaves us in a wait and see, but they could also argue they've been burned too many times and therefore they're not waiting to see. And again,
that's the stick, though.
I will concede they are probably correct. I also think it's a little premature.
Really? Yeah, it's like a news report after a shooting.
Yeah.
No, really. I mean, I know it sounds like a joke, but it's absolutely the truth. Because right after some kind of shooting, the news report's almost always casting blame, and then they get it wrong almost always. I mean, there's a very small, even a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, that's what that case is that their claims are their knee-jerk reactions. But I think a lot of their fandom is based on those knee-jerk reactions because their fandom has the same knee-jerk reactions and they're the voice for that fandom. And that is what my opinion is.
Yeah.
I'll say that right off. That's my opinion. It's not nothing else but my opinion.
God. Have you ever had Lay's dill potato chips?
No.
So I ate some, and they were delightful. Don't get me wrong. I like dill potato chips, always have. Which is funny because I hate dill pickles, but whatever.
I don't even know.
But I swear to God, I think it's making my entire mouth peel. Like, ugh.
That's the salt from the potato chips.
Something. I don't know if it's the salt or if it's the vinegar. So I'm sure there's vinegar in that because they're very similar to the salt and vinegar chips. So I don't know what it is exactly, but definitely making my mouth like just peel. It's gross. That's like the only thing I can figure out for what it could possibly be.
So I'm going to be doing a new challenge this week.
Yeah.
In the Daily Finch fan server. So we got a new mod. And he's not new to the channel, but one of the other mods suggested him as a mod. And I think it's a good suggestion. The guy's a pretty decent artist, and he's still young enough where he's learning. So he can pass a lot of knowledge off, which is great. You know, someone closer to the closer to the levels of those that are members that don't know this stuff, that can give them a more less biased opinion. I don't know. Something that would feel more like closer to their age group and closer to their maybe thinking. So anyway, he's been doing like manga, and Joe's been doing
Oh, hey, Aaron.
Jarvis challenge. But I haven't done a weekly challenge in a while, so I've got one that's going to be a mix that's coming up.
Aaron's back. He said they're remaking
and Japanese styles.
They're remaking the Blair Witch Project. How the hell
Why?
are you Why? Like, that's just what?
They're going to show more piss in the corner at the end or something?
I guess. I'm sorry, but part of the reason why that movie worked was the marketing that went into it.
Yeah, it was a gimmick, just like Memento. It only works because it's a gimmick.
I like Memento.
Yeah,
Memento still works.
Play it backwards. Play it backwards, and it's just a run-of-the-mill movie.
Well, I don't watch it backwards.
Yeah, because the only thing that makes it work is the gimmick of not revealing it in order. I know a lot of screenwriters that hate that movie just for that purpose. And I agree. I've watched that movie a lot, and I used to like it too. And then I watched it and saw what they're talking about it, and I'm like, it's valid. If you watch it backwards, it's nothing new. The only reason it works is because you don't know what's going to happen. If you watched it backwards, you would. You guessed the ending before you got there. Anyway, main point is that we're talking about gimmicks.
Yeah. Well, except for I would say Memento still works, and Blair Witch does not.
Okay, but they're both gimmicks.
Okay, but
we can agree on that.
Anything's a gimmick.
You know, like doesn't matter whether you think it works or I think it works. We can agree on that. That they're both gimmick movies. That's it. Like anything else, you know, we can have separate opinions on, but the basic format only works at all because it's a gimmick. Same thing with Blair Witch. If Blair Witch was a found footage thing and they really didn't release actually what happened, like it was one of the few times that you didn't see everything that happened in the advertisements, previews. Anyway,
how is that good news even? I can't fathom that. I just can't. Nope. That'll be one I miss. You're gonna have to do something really neat.
What did you say?
I can't fathom wanting to see that because it's just. Because I remember when I saw Blair Witch, like, that theater was, like, people were scared. And, like, when you really think about it, it makes no sense why that would ever be scary. Oh, no, there are sticks!
Well, they're scared of the unknown, right? But then once you know, it's not unknown anymore.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's why that movie sucks so bad, is that they built up anticipation. And then when you actually get to the end, it didn't reveal anything worth the anticipation, right? What was that other one that was like that? It was a haunting movie where it's supposed to be like paranormal.
Oh, I never watched those.
Paranormal something. It was supposed to be filmed from different cameras around this house, and it was supposed to be really scary poltergeist, and really it was just a noise goes off here, car alarm goes off there, and the payoffs in both cases weren't really worth it. I think.
That, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that Cloverfield was the same way. I accepted that they changed points of view because, it's found footage and it was a camera that was dropped and picked up, and that kind of made it interesting, but the payoff wasn't worth all the fucking anticipation.
I agree with that. Aaron said that I believe The Blair Witch was the only movie he walked out of in the middle. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
I don't think I've ever walked out on a movie. I've just suffered through them. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think. Normally I think I would too.
I've seen some stinkers, but I don't think I've ever walked out on one.
Huh, yeah. Well, that's not true. We left. We had taken the boys to go see Pirates of the Caribbean at the drive-in theater, and I swear that movie has more endings than the Lord of the Rings films do. And I'm just like, that's it. I'm done. Like I'm going home. Like, I don't care anymore. And so I actually don't know how Pirates of the Caribbean ends. I mean, I know how they defeat. Yeah, because it just kept ending. It was dumb. It was like Lord of the Rings, only worse. Plus, I had small children and I didn't really care. I mean, I think they were asleep or something. I was like, that's it, I'm done. So, I don't know. But I distinctly remember just deciding, I've had enough of this. And Rhonda wasn't into it, and so we just went home. But that was probably the last 5 or 10 minutes. Again, the big bad had been defeated.
I liked it all right.
Jay said the only movie he ever walked out on was Annabelle, and I didn't even make it to the middle. I've never even seen Annabelle.
I stopped watching horror movies a long time ago.
I generally do. I mean, I generally don't watch them because, they don't seem all that interesting to me.
Well, first of all, horror doesn't really scare anymore.
Right.
It's really kind of splatterfest and how gross can you kill somebody. And
well,
for the most part, I'm not saying they're all that way, but once in a while you get like a psychological or religious horror that comes out, and I don't even watch them anymore. Like, I just don't feel the need for that type of thrill.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other people do, and I understand that because at one time I did.
Yeah.
But I think I've outgrown that phase.
Yeah, I'll go watch Saw films, and I don't watch them for their gory deaths. I really don't. I watch them because I've liked the storyline of Jigsaw. And I've been interested when they kill off the main killer, how do you keep going? And I don't know if I've really ever been satisfied with the way they did it, but it was an interesting concept that I wanted to see. Um, but generally speaking, I tend to go and it's really I want to see how this all connects, not how do people die or anything like that. It's that's just not it for me. So like I think there's another Saw movie coming out either this year or next.
Yeah, there definitely is. Like I said, Dorian Clevenger was working on it.
So I'll go see it. Um,
I think he worked on the last one too.
well, that one was okay, although it's a prequel.
Well, he does the special effects.
Okay. But yeah, so I mean it's
Not just telling you what he does on the movie. He does special effects. Dorian Clevenger was a horror fantasy painter, so it was always dark fantasy stuff. It's really right up his alley. That's just a natural evolution of where he would go. I'm not surprised at all.
I think from a relatively early age, I don't think I really ever liked horror movies for horror movies' sake. Like, and I know this may seem stupid because they're not very complicated films, but I always wanted to know the lore of Michael Myers, and I always wanted to know, like, the lore is what always drags me in. That's what like if it's an interesting lore, then I can enjoy it. So like some of the stuff and like the paranormal stuff starts.
That's the thing I like about Friday the 13th, the original movies.
Yeah.
The lore, because like I said, there's a book.
Okay. Even like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, it really does it's just I like the lore. I like the story behind it. I like the magic system they were making. Some of it doesn't quite work. Like the second film really doesn't work with the other ones, but whatever. That's one of those things. For a while, you saw like they did it in Halloween, they did it in Friday the 13th. They kind of made this push like they were going to be passing the mantle to somebody else. And I always wanted to see how well they did. And to some extent, Saw has done that. And that's a big draw for me. I don't know why I find that so interesting. How the next person is going to be this and how it's going to continue. And I think that stuff is cool. And I've never been satisfied with the way anyone's done it, but I've always been interested. That's even why, like, did you ever see the Batman Begins cartoon?
Nope.
No, not Batman Begins.
I might have, but I don't know.
Batman Beyond, where they had the futuristic new Batman and the old Batman pretty much stuck in his Batcave. The draw for me for that was, oh look, they're replacing Batman. That's neat. But then you also get to find out, oh, this is what happened to Bane. He's an old man who's hooked up to a machine because that Venom stuff ruined his body. Or Mr. Freeze. Or like what happened to the Joker. And I mean, all that kind of stuff I've always thought was kind of interesting to kind of see where it could have led. So it's not necessarily the character development as much as I don't know, lore development. So are you saying now that Shepard is done? Because you've moved on to model?
Except for what I'm going to do in the plating, the metal stuff. But
Okay.
that's going to be.
Jay said that he likes.
Child's Play.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Here, actually, I'm just going to do this. There we go.
That is the quick and easy way of acknowledging that you commented and we responded.
Right.
By the way, no streaming platform or whatever has said anything. We had a friend of the channel that made a comment and we didn't see it, so we're just trying to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody.
That's right. How's Eli?
Eli is not doing better.
Oh.
We're a little bit concerned because he hadn't really eaten in a week. And he doesn't want to get out of bed. So we're a little concerned for Mr. E.
That's not good.
Nope. We're looking for ways to examine the problem, but he's not very comfortable with complying with ways to examine that particular problem.
I can understand.
Yeah, right. Like, we have to make a collection, and he doesn't like that idea. And the collection that's just what he's, doing.
Yeah.
It's hard because that's not like we're supposed to collect a stool sample, and
Yeah.
we're supposed to collect a stool sample without any other samples mixing in.
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to happen with him. Like we're trying to figure out ways that we could possibly do that. And with him, it's really hard.
Huh. Not fun.
No,
Not
it's
fun
not,
at all.
not fun. And Amanda's concerned that he's got a C diff. Likewise, he's not a very clean kid by nature.
Yeah.
There are any kids, really. I mean, I guess there's some. But my boy likes to play outside and put dirt in his pocket and, that kind of stuff. So, what do you do, right?
Yeah.
But this is the first time he's had anything like this. I mean, there's still a chance that it's just a viral infection or whatever. But we need a sample to figure that out. Unfortunately, you don't want to give up on it. Or, like, when Amanda's looking for a way to get a sample, That's the time that he's not making them. Yeah. That's the time that he's not producing.
Oh boy.
And then when she closes her eyes to get some sleep, he produces 3 or 4 times.
That's Chuck.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Good thing I didn't do that while I was eating.
Yeah. My giant forehead. Anyway.
What's that? Oh, your giant forehead?
Yeah, Jay, your audio. Let's go backwards. Jay said, "Rich, your audio is glitching." I mean, I shortened that, but that's what he said.
Yeah, for glitching for a while now, right? I have no idea. It could be that. It could be like I try. My voice is screwy right now too, and as you know, I'm not using my regular mic because sometimes it works and sometimes it makes all kinds of noises. I could give it a shot and then I'll plug it in and see what happens. Worst that could,
All right, if we start screaming, you'll
happen.
know.
Yeah, the worst that could happen is you'll be screaming at me that there's too much noise. Let's see. Let's find out. Oh yeah, that would be the case.
I'm gonna test it.
No.
You're knocking over your light.
No, I'm moving my light because the cord to that particular light, the cord to that particular one was running underneath my light's legs. So when I tried to pull the cord, it was wrapped around the legs. Let's see.
There's a joke there somewhere. I'm just not going to say it.
Oh yeah, I can't hear because I don't have the earphones in.
What? I can barely hear you. Jay said, there you go. If you're talking, I can't hear you.
No idea what that was. I mean, it was your headphones, but we're gonna need to sign. Please hold as we experience technical difficulties. Oh, now you're muted. You know your mic's muted? I hope you know your mic is muted.
Yeah, it's muted. I tapped the bottom of my mic. So, gotta pay attention.
Okay, that sounds better.
All right, so we'll see how long this works.
Alrighty.
Because I literally, sometimes I'll use it and it'll be fine, and sometimes it'll start making noises that I can't hear, but the chat can. We'll see. All right.
Dogs around the country are starting to howl because of your weird microphone.
It's not really a weird microphone. It's a HyperX. So it's, it's a pretty common one, really.
So I had a thought the other night about world building with this. And I'm not sure how I really feel about it, but I thought I'd run it by you as an idea, not as a suggestion, but as a possibility, I guess. And if it works for you, we can flesh it out more. But when I had suggested the thing about the acronyms yesterday on Facebook, last night when I was going to bed, had the idea that we had talked about how the leader, the big bad, believes in genetic manipulation, whereas everyone else is pretty much says that's verboten. But I would think his followers might also partake in that then. So that if you wanted to, you could visually make them look all kinds of weird. So that if you wanted to keep their appearance that kind of went along with the acronyms that they had, it could work. Although I don't like the idea of it really depends on the I guess the clothing that we'd put them in, how much I would be okay with that, but it's, I mean, I guess it's a logical extension of what we had already discussed. I'm just not exactly sure if I like it or not. So it's just a thought.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'll just let it percolate. It provides, I guess, an avenue for artistic design, but
you mean the acronyms taking some kind of form?
Yeah, which you specifically said you didn't want to do that, so that might just.
I don't know if I was saying that I didn't want to do that. I just didn't know if I wanted to. Depending on what it was, I didn't know if I wanted the extra work to figure it out.
Oh, okay. Well,
but like as I pick this up and focus on the actual work.
Yeah.
I want it to be visually interesting. So.
Right.
That's why she doesn't really look like what she did in the original sketch, right? because I wanted it to be visually interesting, and I wanted to commit to it being a her, because you have all kinds of reasons for it, and it took me a little bit. And it does sometimes, like, I'm trying to be honest here. It does sometimes take me a little bit to see what you're saying, or see how something different than what I'm thinking could work not only just as well, but maybe sometimes better. I try really hard to be open to suggestions that I feel make things better. But sometimes, like, I'm focused and I have an idea in my head, and that's not the idea, you know, and so I've got to take a little time for it to percolate.
Well, that is 100% though. Just so I mean, it's not necessarily something I want. It's just something that I could see being logical.
Yeah, well, that's we talked about it with sorry, we're
a little bit, yeah.
We're getting we're running over each other here, and that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to add that we kind of discussed it with that whole his tank.
His tank, yeah.
So you go ahead and say what you're saying. I just wanted to interject that.
Well, I mean, I just I had never really.
Well, I mean, if we go back to the his tank discussion. So, for those of you who are watching, in case you're wondering, because again, we're trying to come up with this comic book idea or graphic novel idea. So we have a villain in mind, and it made sense in my brain because they kind of have, you know, various henchmen and goons and whatnot. So to kind of give them a thematic look, sort of, or design. And so I had tossed out the idea that the various different positions in the organization, that is the big evil organization, might have like
acronyms.
Yeah, well, acronyms that kind of describe what they do. So instead of having foot soldier, you have something else, and I said the acronym should be based off of fantasy races. So, and I just kind of came up with a couple. Like, I came up with one for Goblin, and it wasn't very good, but I did, and one for Orc, which
was an idea.
So, like, well, okay, I don't know if it wasn't saying good. It wasn't that good.
I don't know if it wasn't good. I think it was just kind of rushed to give me an idea of what you were thinking, right?
Right, that was my goal. So, like, I think I don't know, it's like operational recon commando would be an orc, that kind of thing. And one of the first things that Rich said was, like, I don't want to have to. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but basically, you didn't want to have to necessarily draw orcs or goblins just because we're calling them orcs and goblins.
Or
I said, well, no
find
more
a orc-looking uniform or something like that is what I was thinking.
Right.
Then as we talked about it, that got more interesting. Anyway.
So like when we were talking about the his tank from G.I. Joe, I never, for all these years, never thought of it looking all that serpentine. But I can kind of see what you're saying with kind of the way it looks, kind of like a snake's head. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like a snake's head that's about ready to bite. But
I mean, it doesn't have fangs, but
well, I said about ready to bite, not his mouth's open. Usually they cock back before they strike, and it looks like a python's head.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, anyway.
But if you know, that was my thing was, it was in my brain, because again, I don't really. I see what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it was never really something that I noticed, I guess.
Right.
Or if you look at like, wasn't it the plane? If Aaron's here, he'll know. But like the plane that they used to use, I think they call it a rattler, which does not look like a rattlesnake in any way, shape, or form. But that's what the name of the ship of the plane was. So that might have been a better example while we were talking. So I'm okay. I mean, if we decide to go that way, that route of using the acronyms and trying to kind of come up with fantasy race, yeah, Aaron said Rattler. Later on, I was having thoughts that maybe they could kind of, you can lean into it as much as you want, I guess, visually. It might just be that's the rank or whatever, and that's all you have to worry about. Or if you want to do a little bit more, you can. Like, it really doesn't matter. But it's an idea that could work. But I also don't like the idea necessarily of, like, this is a post-apocalyptic thing, and if you actually have real orcs and goblins, that doesn't quite work for me. So,
but if they're mutants and they call them orcs and goblins,
right? That's a little bit better. And again, it would depend on the design of them. So,
yeah, that's my
but
department.
It's an idea. Yeah, it is your department. But it's definitely. I mean, it's an interesting idea. I like the thematic look or feel of it overall. Just how you want to go it, how far you want to lean into it. That's kind of up to you. It's not.
So, all right.
I don't think that's integral.
I'm sure you've seen Rain of Fire.
Only a little bit. Oh wait, no, Rain of Fire. That's the dragon one, right?
Yep.
Doesn't it have like Matthew McConaughey and?
Yep.
Who was going bald at the time, by the way, which is why his head shake.
Christian Bale, Matthew McConaughey, Gerard Butler.
Oh, I don't remember him, but okay.
Really? Because he was Christian Bale's best friend.
I literally didn't know if I recognized Christian Bale when I watched the movie. Like, I know Matthew McConaughey.
He was the kid that found the dragon. He was the guy that, when he grew up, that was him.
That doesn't mean I necessarily, when I saw it, recognized him.
Okay. I'm
like,
just telling you who they were.
Okay.
Whether you recognize them or not, I'm not arguing in that point. I can't. I wouldn't know what you saw.
Well, I'm sure you're right. I just that movie is a few years old, and I saw it in theaters, and that's the last time I saw it.
Well, I brought it up for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
One is that it's also a post-apocalyptic movie.
That's true.
But there's a different reason for the apocalypse. Like, it's a dragon that's in that movie, obviously, or a bunch of dragons. But there's a mythology. So there, in the beginning, I think it's Gerard Butler telling the story of Star Wars as a puppet show to kids.
I remember that. That was actually my favorite part of that movie. Something like say they make it up.
I actually like that movie, but the point being that so even in a post-apocalyptic time, people will probably still think about Tolkien and the bigger, more known stories. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they would naturally do something like call maybe mutated people to not be confused with the X-Men.
Right.
They would maybe call them orcs or goblins or ogres or whatever, depending on the deformity or the mutation. So I'm thinking about that, and it's just as easy to, you're talking about the bad guys might employ biotechnology.
Yeah.
So if if that person is willing to experiment on anybody, he doesn't really have any limitations, then maybe he created mutants. So I just think maybe it's a possibility, or it wouldn't be too far-fetched for him to nickname some mutants after it. What do you think? It's like that's a perfectly good reason to use those names without it actually being orcs and goblins and whatever.
Well, I know. I mean, so part of. I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I know I had the thought, and I thought I'd run it by you, but a lot of that stuff I don't put a lot of mental juice into until I think it's a go. Like if I.
Yeah, but man, if you really like something and take a stand on it and say I really like this.
Well, I don't. That's the thing. I don't necessarily really like it. I was like, well, that could work.
No, what I'm saying is, if you do, though,
well, I do.
I will take pause if you have something like that. I'll take pause and actually consider. Think about it harder. I will take my time to think about it harder to see your side. I guess as I'm saying that, you're saying you're not marrying any idea, and I'm saying if you really like an idea, let me know. I'll treat it with the respect that it deserves when I think about it. If you're just flying off the cuff fucking around, then I'm going to treat it like that too. I mean, so you need to make a distinction if it's important to you or you really like the idea. And if it's important to you.
The acronym thing was the part where I really like that idea. Like I really do. Which is why I sent it to you.
Okay.
And then we had a slight discussion about it. And again, that's why I was thinking about it, I'm sure. And then I was like, oh, this kind of contradicts what he said, but it could work. And then so I'm just running it by you again because I'm like, well, it could work. But I also know on this part, especially on this part, about the design part, I don't have a vision for it, and therefore, it's not something that I would really it's not a hill I'm willing to die on for the design of it. And plus, I don't even know how many we're going to need. But there are certain. Trust me, when I want to take a stand, like earlier, you were like, "Oh yeah, the nano beacon," and I was like, "No, this doesn't work."
I don't see why it doesn't work, but if you don't like it, that's fine.
Well, you can see like Mastiff. I was like, all right, cool. But yeah, the reason why I don't think the nano beacon, because it would have been a nice, easy solution, would be I would question. Well, it does. It takes away from two things. The first one is
I question if you can track them. It kind of defeats the purpose of why you would do it, in my mind, because the idea is that you generally are never going to know who they are, and tracking them. I just think if you can track it, if it can send out a beacon, other people can intercept the beacon, and I don't like that idea.
All right, so here's I got to address those, otherwise I'll forget them.
Okay.
They're a courier.
Yeah, I know.
Well, couriers nowadays have trackers built on their stuff in case there's a robbery where they lose it. So
Well,
there's no reason for you to not know that they're a tracker or a courier.
That was kind of one of the draws for me, was the fact it's very secretive.
I did not know that because I didn't have any indication that those would be secretive.
Oh yeah, that was kind of my thing. That was one of the
I
reasons why I liked it.
I thought model was the secretive.
No, she's just a. Well, that's the other thing, though.
Now, see, that's completely inverted. So the throwaway is secretive, and that's attractive, and the one that's becoming a character.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but one of the things I liked about, okay, so here's a secret of, how in the, and that's why I kind of sent you, was how in the world does model know who the target is? Now, personally, I'm not exactly sure if that ever has to go on the page. I've got ideas for it.
Oh no! So I wasn't arguing that. I was saying that Shepard know how he found out.
Well,
should be on the page because it would be a violation of his point of view if we didn't know, and it kind of alienates the audience by that little bit. Anyway,
well,
you can address that later if you want, but
well, I mean, I don't want to talk about it. My idea for, I mean, the way Shepard knows is because he's told.
Yeah,
but how do they know?
Right, this secretive person took something from secretive people.
Right, and I think I have a solution for that. I just don't necessarily think. And this goes back to the opening structure, I guess, in that. So one of the things I did was, I told you about this. I went and I watched like all the pre-title sequences of James Bond films, which, if that could be my day job, is doing research like that, I would be okay. Because
that's ironic, because that's exactly what I did with Mission Impossible. You mentioned it. So I went back and watched all the Mission Impossibles. So all the ones that I could see.
So one of the things, again, they said that the opening doesn't necessarily have to tie in. I like the way that ours, I think, will. But it doesn't have to, but it can. But like one of the directors was saying that the opening sequence is a chance to let James Bond play around a little bit, which is why they don't always have to connect. You just need to see it's kind of skill porn.
It's showing he's capable,
right?
Which is what makes James Bond a desirable character to watch, even though he doesn't grow as a character. But he actually kind of technically does, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah. But if you really look at the like I'm thinking in particular, I think it's Is GoldenEye? I think it's GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye with Sean Bean and Sean Bean and
Pierce Brosnan.
And Famke Janssen.
Yeah, but it has an awesome introduction, like opening scene.
She's on the top, right?
Yeah, um, where it's
We don't know
what was it,
anything about James Bond.
I think it's I think it's 006 or 005, whatever Sean Bean's character is.
Yep.
Him and James Bond go in. They infiltrate this Russian place, and it's just why are they there necessarily? How'd they find that information? No freaking clue. It's accepted that they were given a mission, and they got to carry it out, and it's
actually that's spy stuff. So they found out where they go. That's generally one of the things Bond does during an assignment, is that he discovers where trouble is going to happen, or where.
Yeah, but they're going in to plant bombs and blow this place up.
Exactly. But they probably knew where the place was because they spied it.
Yes, but that doesn't mean we're ever shown how they personally learn about it.
But we know they're spies.
Well, okay. I get that, but
that's a little bit different. I'm just stating that is one of the differences.
I don't think we have to necessarily know. I mean, I know how he knows, or at least in my brain, how he knows. I just don't know if it's necessary on the page of the graphic novel. If you were to come up to me and say, "How does he know?" You don't get this. Will never get published unless you tell me right now. I would be able to tell you, or at least a version that makes perfect sense, that works. It's just I don't think it's necessary for the story. So that's why I skipped it. I mean, I know, and I think it's good that I know, and I'm happy to tell you what I think. And that's why, I mean, part of me, when you said the thing about the nano beacon, I was like, that really doesn't work, but I don't really overly care, because I don't think I'm going to ever say why on the page. He knows. So part of me is like, it doesn't even have to be decided yet, because it's not going to, I don't think it'll make the page. And if it's necessary, I mean, so, I mean, part of me is just is more than happy just to say, if it comes to it and we have to put it on the page, then we'll put it on the page, and we'll have to make a decision at that point. And I'll be happy to, off camera, I guess, tell you my feelings about it. It's not super secret, but because I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be on the page, I don't necessarily want to talk about it on stream. Although maybe later on we realize that was a mistake and I should talk about it on stream. I don't know. But, which, by the way, viewers, you can let us know what you think. But I think starting roughly where I had originally set the thing, I don't mind hurrying the pace up. And again, that was part of that's me not knowing how to do the script. Part of that's just not sure how you're going to do the artwork, which is why the outline I sent you on Slack is very, in my writer brain, I think this is incredibly vague. But part of that's so that you can draw what you want to draw. Like on the thing I put on Slack, I put this thing about he gets in his vehicle. And I'm like, oh God, that would never work for prose. You've got to say kind of vehicle.
You're not writing prose.
I know. So like when I say get
it's much more like a movie script, much more.
And I gave some suggestions, I think, for what kind of vehicle it could be, but it literally could be anything. I mean, I wouldn't make it a bicycle, but it's definitely one of those things where I don't care. Like, whatever you want it to be. So, some of the things on the outline, I'm just like, we'll see if this generally works, and then if you want more detail, I guess we can do that. But it was like, it's more in line with what I think the opening. I mean, it's again it will tie into the rest of the story, and we can get more explanation there about some of the stuff that goes on, so it's not a big huge info dump at the beginning. Like some of the stuff, I mean, I'm calling it a meeting with M, which is, I mean, I haven't written anything about that I've given you, but in my brain I think, oh yeah, then we have the meeting with M, because that's kind of the thing that we should, that's like kind of like the next part, even though it's not M, it's whatever we make it. But in fact, that's actually something I got to talk about with you, actually, now that I think about it. We had talked originally that Shepard's a cyborg, so biomechanical, not genetic manipulation, but mechanical manipulation.
Yeah, I kind of thought him as an augmented being, but it's all the same.
And we had talked. I know we had talked at some point about kind of like an AI companion in his brain. Best way to put it, like that. I can go through the notes because I made me and my acronym. I made an acronym for him. I've kind of dropped it for some of the stuff because I'm like, I don't know if we're still doing that. But the reason why I need to know if we're going to do that or not is because I have to figure out how he's getting his marching orders. Because originally I thought, oh, well, easy. They contact the AI tells him, and that's done.
Yeah, we had a dispute over the AI because I didn't like that.
Well, okay, so
the reason that I didn't like it is because that's the only part of him that's him.
Okay.
Not that he couldn't have a communicator device or whatever, but that's the reason that I didn't like the AI is because everything else in his body and everything else is not him. It's a chassis, really.
Okay, but and again, I can drop this. I'm okay dropping the idea, but just to make sure I'm.
But the body
clear,
can have a comm in it. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so I'm just. You know how in Iron Man there's Friday, and before that it was it? Is it Jeeves? What was? Whatever the operating system is that becomes Vision. Jarvis, thank you. So you got Jarvis, and then eventually it becomes Friday. I'm not sure how Edith comes into this. So that's just the glasses or not. But anyway. So it's Jarvis. So my idea was the AI would have functioned more like that. So it's still him inside his brain. It's just
but so that to me that's a computer in a suit.
Okay.
Which is basically what it is, because Jarvis actually can be cut off.
Yeah.
Can be not connected.
Okay.
And that's fine if you want to do. There's a computer in his suit that he can access or whatever. That's fine. I just don't want it to be his brain because his brain is what survived.
Okay, I am down with that. All right. I'd like to do that. Well, at least I want to play around with the idea then. I got to come up with a personality. I mean, part of me wants to make it a lot like HK47. If you've ever played Knights of the Old Republic, you'll know.
Nope.
Oh my goodness.
I don't play
HK47. HK47 is the absolute best Star Wars character ever invented. Just hands down. That character is awesome. Because, so, I'm not going to spoil anything too much, but he's an assassin droid, and he's always, so you're playing, and most people, I'm going to guess, kind of stick with the light side. Although I've done both, so who knows? Because the dark side's fun. But HK47 always wants to do the wrong thing. He is definitely like, he's like, how about we interrogate them forcefully? How about we interrogate them a little bit more? How about we just kill them? I mean, it's just always, I've always liked his personality. Calls people meat bags, I think that's what it is. And I don't know, I've always enjoyed it. The trick is to not having it be HK47. But it is definitely, I think, for me, until I hear some other voice in my head saying that's a bad idea, it's kind of an inspiration. But I'm not exactly sure how that would work. So it might not work. I don't know. Like my brain is telling me.
Another voice saying that's a bad idea?
I just don't know.
Or
I don't
you
know
mean
yet.
Another voice giving him bad ideas?
Oh, for him, he's always got bad ideas, trust me. Or let's just say he's very pragmatic.
No, stop. I'm talking about how it applies.
Oh.
Because I thought you said that you liked the fact that voice always gave bad advice.
Well, it depends on how you want to look at it.
Well, and then I'm saying when you said about this, you're like, that's how I treat it until I find another voice that says that's a bad idea. So well, that seems like it's completely opposite of what you're saying you like the other one for.
I'm saying
I like the idea of it giving him bad advice, but that's something that, how you trust something with your life if it gives you bad advice.
Well, when I say bad advice, I mean things like, well, okay, let's just say in the game, let's say you capture somebody.
Well, I know you're saying that it gets you in trouble, but...
Well, it's not necessarily that it gets you in trouble. It's just that it suggests things in a very pragmatic, cynical way. If you don't value life at all, then...
Right, which would, be a non-human.
Right. So...
Or if they're programmed to value all life.
Well,
either one could be a problem. Well, I'm just saying either one could be a problem.
Right.
I guess I'm twisting the idea.
When in the game, when you get into certain situations, and if you have HK47 with you, he's going to recommend the expedient, generally violent solution. He's not the guy that's going to suggest, let's sit down and talk with our enemy. For him, a peaceful resolution means everyone else is dead. So it's kind of a fun, dark character. And while part of me really loves that character, and I'm really trying to figure out how to make that work as my own character, it's, I don't know if they would have given him that. That's my big problem. Like I don't know if yeah.
So here's an idea.
Okay.
They may not have given him that, but he might get around a magnet or something that's screwy that screws it up.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, part of it's. I mean, I never watched the Blue Beetle film because it looks stupid. Sorry.
No, I didn't either. So.
But I've seen Blue Beetle in other things, so.
He's a comedy, though, right?
Well, it depends on which one it is.
I understood it was supposed to be a comedy.
Okay.
Like, he was a comedy, like even the comic.
It just depends on, I think, which version you have.
But honestly, I haven't read the comic, so this is all on what I've heard. And we all know how what I've heard works.
Yeah. Or even like Cyborg in the Justice League film about, like when they, spoiler alert, in the Justice League film when they bring Superman back alive and then he's kind of sitting there and then he has to fight the whole Justice League. Part of that's because Cyborg's suit perceived Superman as a threat and started building guns and stuff off of him. And I've seen Blue Beetle type stuff doing that too. So sometimes that thing where they're designed to protect the host kind of backfires because it's too protective. Especially if you don't really care about any other life. Like if Shepard is the only life he cares about, or it cares about, then again it goes back.
Then you can do like a Venom thing and make it fall in love with him and get jealous and stuff like that.
Definitely going to be something I play around with, I think.
I like it. Gives us some character.
So, fun fact, and Aaron, if you're around, you might like this a lot. On the way out of school today, I saw the German teacher, and both my sons are taking German. And she points to my son Thaddeus, and she says, "Hey, he knows what Squidward's name is in German. You should ask him sometime." Which I thought, well, that's weird. So I look at my son and I say, "What's Squidward's name in German?" And basically, it's Thaddeus or Tidius or something. It's very close to Thaddeus. It's basically Thaddeus. And it's kind of an interesting. I was like, really? I don't know how that works, other than it doesn't need to be Squidward, but I thought it was like Thaddeus. So brings a whole new perspective to his name. Sehr gut. That's right, Aaron. Still not as much fun as my favorite German word, though, Sitzsprinkler. It's a word for men who sit down when they pee.
My wife's favorite German word is Glockenspiel.
You know, if Spiel is play, I wonder what the Glock part is. And now I really want to know how that breaks down. Because it's kind of like, when you fool around and find out. So that could kind of really work. Anybody who speaks German is watching. You can let us know.
My son loves German, so if he was watching, he'd rattle it off.
Yeah.
He never learned that shit in school, but he's got a gamer friend over in Germany that he's learning and practicing with.
Aaron, are you saying that the Glock part means bell?
But Glockenspiel doesn't mean party bell. I don't know. I have a Glock, and well, I guess it can make your ears ring, but I don't think you feel like I was ringing a bell.
That's awesome. Somewhere there's some anti-gun nut who is dying that we're talking about this, but
Dying to know that I have one.
yeah.
I just lost a follower or some shit. But I'm not going to get rid of it just to get a follower.
Yeah.
That follower is not going to run all the way across country to protect my wife and kids if I'm not around and they need protection.
Aaron said Glockenspiel is just chimes or a bell player. Interesting. See, we learn things here at the Gordox Pub.
Yeah, like, stop, that's hot. We're full of learning.
Aaron said that it's literally plays bells. You could shoot bells with it.
He's not saying Glock is, he's saying Glockenspiel is.
Right.
You can shoot bells with it, but you got to be careful shooting anything metal because it can bounce back at you and have unintended consequences.
I assume the Glock is probably named after somebody's left. Well, I don't know what it's named after.
Probably the ringing in your ears you get if you shoot with no protection.
Aaron said that Glock is named after a man named Glock.
No
That's
shit.
kind of what I figured, but
It's kind of like, the Kalashnikov.
yeah. Ugh.
Named after a guy who had a really bad cough.
Ugh.
And before anyone goes looking it up, I know Kalashnikov is his real name.
Nice.
Actually, have you ever seen, you probably haven't checked into them, but there's a Russian handgun called the Lebdev. And
Okay.
I think it's super cool because it looks like the LAPD 2049.
Okay.
That would be the Blade Runner gun.
Oh.
I mean, it really doesn't, but it's reminiscent of it.
Okay.
And it's a 9mm, and it's got a very low bore access, and that's what you want, the lowest bore ax possible. Because if you get a really low bore access, it's like pointing your finger, and that's the bore access is where the slide is compared to your finger. So if it's a low, and it's not like if you look at a 1911, it's got a fairly decent bore access. It's got that much room on the slide, but a Lebdev's got like that, and there's one that's even thinner. But yeah, those are the ones that you really want to look out for because those are the ones that will be a lot easier to get a handle on your accuracy. There's a styler I really like too. And that's exactly the opposite theory. It's instead of it being like pointing your finger, it's cocked on the handle, so it looks like you're leaning like almost a rifle. I'm knocking shit over. Oh yeah, the pens that I bought that I was going to use.
Forgot all about it.
I didn't forget about them. They're where I'm leaning my arm, and there's not a whole lot of room right over here because there's all kinds of pens and pencils and refills and circle templates and cups with brushes in them. Lots of stuff. So this little area, they just fly off of if I'm not paying attention. And obviously I wasn't paying attention. It's probably the fine detail ones.
Yeah.
Nope. That's the only one I didn't knock off. You're boring bread again.
No, I'm just getting tired, that's all.
I'm not bored. I'm just tired.
Trust me, there's a huge difference. Aaron said O.J. Simpson dies of cancer. Cancer denies all allegations and will not rest until it finds O.J.'s real killer. I think my favorite one that I've seen today about O.J. was something along the lines of that O.J. is finally at rest, knowing that his wife's killer is dead. It's like, oh, that's funny.
Hmm.
So one of the guys at work shared this video about, and it's called like the worst cover of all time. That's the name of the video. And they're doing the final countdown by Europe. And I don't think any of them have ever played music together because no one was on the same beat. And it's one of those things. It's so bad, it's entertaining, and I just, part of me is like, at least they got up and they tried. Good for them. But oof, that's gonna haunt you for a while. A friend of mine who's in more than one band, at least he was last time I checked. And they're all like folk bands or Irish bands or that kind of thing. I mean, it's basically whoever he's going to be playing with, kind of thing. And he plays fiddle. And I saw him years ago when the boys were really tiny, and the band he was in, occasionally he sang lead, but for the most part, it wasn't him. And at the time, I thought, yeah, let the other guy sing. Play your fiddle. You're good. But now when I see him, I'm like, yeah, sing some more. Sing some more, Sean. It's awesome. Like he's just developed a lot. And again, it goes back to that whole practice and putting the work in, and really working on your craft. So again, I think Sean has always been good with music, but he had to, I think, learn to sing, and I think he definitely has. And now I love his stuff.
What was the LJW conference? Rich,
What?
what was the LJW conference?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever heard of it. What are you talking about?
Well, that thing you posted about Let's Just Write 2024. Oh, Let's Just Write. Duh. God, that's what it is. It's the Let's Just Write conference. I am so smart. SMRT.
Yeah, it wasn't a conference either. I don't think.
I don't know.
It's just notes on something.
Yeah, I was just looking them over. Just some of the stuff they were saying about writing. Some of it, I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but because like the first thing on there is from James Patterson, fully focused and present in every conversation.
Yeah, these are different authors giving advice, and probably the ones that were given a lecture or something. But I find that people handpick advice from different writers.
True story.
It's okay to do that, don't get me wrong, because as you know and I know, and most writers know, there's no one proper way. It's just whatever works for you. And you got to kind of reach out and experiment to find what works for you, right? So.
No, you just need to meet that one mentor who will take credit for everything you do from then on.
Yes, and he handpicks advice from different authors to claim as his.
I'm surprised he doesn't expect royalty payments.
Jeez.
You know, he might be a really nice guy in person. I don't know.
Well,
he's
he's a really nice guy until you take his courses. It's only after that he's disagreeable, if you're disagreeable with his anything.
Yeah, he definitely has. He's got his opinions. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and a lot of the people that take his courses are snowed into thinking that they are the only valid ones. And I've talked to people there because when he asked me for a reference and then booted me, I told a whole bunch of people that's what happened. And some of them were just like, oh, no big deal, you deserved it or whatever. And they didn't talk to me for a long time. And then it wasn't that long ago, a whole bunch of them show up and telling me, yep, I'm seeing that same thing. Like, yeah, I saw it years ago.
Yeah, sometimes you just
what do I know? What do I know?
You just gotta pay attention sometimes.
Yeah.
Although it's always frustrating when you're the first to notice something like that, and then nobody believes you.
Yeah, it's like the Cassandra syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, you see the future, but nobody believes you what you're saying.
And then it happens, and it doesn't really feel better to say I told you.
Well, yeah, because you're dead.
Yeah. Or whatever.
That, stops you from feeling better when they kill you. or at least it puts a definite hurting on the ability.
Yeah. That's funny because, I mean, like, compare that to John Brown. Like, he showed us stuff that we had not seen before. And I think legitimately he would root for us right now.
Well, legitimately, he was reading the 13th name. And so the thing is he's also LDS.
Okay.
So, well, no, it's relevant because it affects his sensibilities and what he doesn't like to read.
Yeah.
So, like, he didn't like what he read of the 13th name because of the violent nature in the beginning of it. And he didn't think there was anything else that's going to happen because of the violent nature in the beginning of it. And I kind of understand that. If you're not willing to give it, more than 2 chapters, then, well, actually more than 1 chapter, if you're prejudiced on it prejudiced against it in the first chapter, it just may not be for you. But that said, and it's to illustrate your point, that even though he doesn't necessarily like the content or wouldn't read the content, he still supports the writer.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you didn't say what I, what I told you to, or you didn't say.
Well, see, I think that's one of the big differences. Like,
you went against my advice, and
yeah, Brandon Sanderson says, try it. If it works, do it. If it doesn't work, don't do it. And John Brown, I think, is the same way. I think Orson Scott Card was pretty candid. He's like, I can tell you how I would do it, but that doesn't mean how you should do it. Like, he can tell you how he would write it, not how you should write it.
Well, he told me out and out, just because of the narrative mode that I use, that it wouldn't ever make it. And then after that, he remembered me in a future session. He's like, well, I thought about it afterwards, and like, every time I say something can't possibly work, I find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but he always gives general, like, even if he gives advice that may seem against what you're, trying or want or whatever, he always gives sound advice. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like he goes, it has to be my way or the highway. He's just like, I've studied Shakespeare, and this is the conventions, and this is why they say that, and don't use whom anymore because nobody knows the proper use of whom anymore, basically saying that you don't have to worry about being uptight about super proper some grammar, because some grammar is not in use anymore and it's changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like so Orson Scott Card, Brandon Sanderson, and John Brown, and Larry Correa, they're all LDS.
Okay.
So, and here's going to make a claim that might be disputed and might accidentally offend somebody, but I'm not intending to. I think, like, these guys all went to BYU.
Yeah.
And Dave taught at BYU, Dave Wolverton, because he also is LDS. So, I'm not surprised that they think along the same lines, but I noticed that LDS, and I think it's due to their beliefs, which is why I keep pounding LDS. uh, write a lot of these secondary world fantasies where the magic systems are different, but a lot of them are related to either being gods or godly abilities that they gain. Because that is one of the tenets of LDS, is that they believe that they will be gods in the end. They will be gods of their own worlds. And I'm not busting on their beliefs at all, so don't take it that way, or anybody that's LDS, don't take it that way. I'm just saying because they believe that, it's easier for them to create that kind of atmosphere in their writing, that kind of magic system in their writing, because that's one of their natural beliefs. Like, I've noticed that one of the reasons that people don't like Christian values is because it all writes the same and blah blah blah. It all looks like your religion. Don't involve your religion. But when you read LDS fantasies, they are definitely employing their religion. Like if you read the Alvin Maker series, Alvin Maker's getting godlike abilities. If you read Brandon Sanderson's works, they're right on point too. I don't know if I can say that about Larry Correa's works, because the only fantasy work that I've read that's outside of, monsters, mayhem, is his Ashok, where it's a caste system.
Is that the one where they were scared of water?
No, that's Alvin Maker, seventh son of a seventh son. Yeah, because water's trying to kill Alvin.
Yeah, I get that, but there was, I think you sent it to me, and yeah, like they didn't like water.
Maybe.
Give me a second. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna grab my tablet because it's on my tablet. So, give me a second. Okay. Let's see what I got.
Another LDS writer who writes magic systems that either involve gods or where the characters either are gods or become gods, is Brian McClellan. And I like his Powder Maid series, but it definitely does run on that thinking.
Yeah, the Son of the Black Sword.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah. Anyway. Ugh. Just remembered I have several articles I have to proofread this weekend. I don't know why. I mean, I get paid for it, so I mean, I guess there are perks to it, but I don't know why I ever volunteered to proofread anything when I hate proofreading. But I can do it, so I guess it's one of those things where that's why I get paid. But it's just gonna eat into the writing time.
Yeah. I haven't written any my original stuff in a couple of weeks now because I picked up this collaboration gig.
Right.
That's one of those things we were talking about, like when you're a creative personality like that and you don't create, you feel like you either haven't done anything or you start getting grumpy after a while.
Yep.
I can do a stream like this and do a whole bunch of drawing or inking or whatever it may be, but not write anything and then be miserable because I haven't written anything.
Yeah.
I'm I'm going to have to put my ass to bed because I'm not going to be fit for anyone to see. You can change up the music if it's getting old.
Oh, I was enjoying the music.
Okay. I didn't say you couldn't enjoy the music too. I just said you can change it up if it's getting old. You have the power.
I do have the power.
I actually put this on because I usually play the fantasy music when I'm doing this kind of stuff.
Ugh. I'd still say that, I mean, it's just so neat watching it fade, like before it was faded away because of you'd ink the background so that the two people, like, you penciled it, she was super dark, and then, she wasn't compared to the ink, and then it's just so neat kind of to watch it come.
I was kind of worried about how she's reading right now because there's a lot going on. So I just want to make sure this is readable.
I would say top half is great. The buttocks area is a little weird, but I don't think it's done. So I don't really worry.
Yeah, the buttocks area is not done. I'm still actually working on that as we speak.
Down in the buttocks. Oh.
No, she's not that old.
No.
She's not down in the buttocks yet.
There is a type of frog that my boys are kind of interested in acquiring, and I'm not interested in acquiring any more animals. Thank you very much. But this particular type of frog walks. It doesn't really hop, and it's got like the cutest little butt on it. I was like, oh, that's just cute. And I've noticed that things with butts, like butt cheeks, are cuter. Like bats, when you realize that bats have butt cheeks, they're so cute. I don't know why that is, but they're just so cute. Of course, a lot of people don't realize that bats have butt cheeks, but they do. What you doing?
You see how this is really thin?
Yeah.
That's because the pencil on this clogged the tip. So I'm cleaning the tip out so that I can make sure it's good at any angle.
Oh, okay.
I think we did discuss this before. Not that long ago.
I've seen it.
Oh. I didn't think you were from Missouri.
What?
Huh?
Just because I want to see what you're talking about versus just talking about it.
Uh-huh.
Also, sometimes I ask questions for the viewers at home.
You got to play the Bob Vila role sometimes, where you just ask the stupid question. Because Bob Vila would often ask, like, some of the Hammer, you gonna hit some nails with that? It's just the dumbest stuff ever. Ugh. But Bob Vila made a lot more money than I ever will, I'm sure.
That's what I was just gonna say. Bob Vila made money off that shit.
Yeah. So I'm not going to fault him. In fact, I'll emulate him at times. So there's that.
It's like you said, asked me if I had a problem with the Happy Little Accidents guy.
Oh, Bob Ross?
Yeah. And no, I don't. I actually have a lot of respect for him. He got a shit deal. You ever watch that thing on him on Amazon?
No. Rhonda
Oh,
did.
he was forced to sign away his rights and everything else. His kids get nothing but the company that put out the videos gets the rights to his supplies and all that. Which is why I don't buy Bob Ross supplies anymore. That's bullshit. You made money on him. What's that?
Oh, Aaron put this comment up a while ago, and I have already shown it once, but it just says "the more you know," and has a little rainbow. And since you said that thing about Bob Ross and the fact that his kids don't get anything, I just thought I'd share that "the more you know" thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. It's one of those things where the company gets everything and the kids get nothing.
Yeah, that's wrong.
And well, what's worse about it is when they made him sign his rights away, he was on his deathbed and delirious and shit. Just not good in any way you look at it.
Aaron said he owns a Bob Ross board game. I can't imagine.
Okay, so now I gotta know, do you win by having happy little accidents?
First one to find the squirrel. I saw a thing about how apparently people used to keep squirrels as pets. And I think Bob Ross did. And I always thought that was weird, but I guess it didn't used to be.
One of my wife's great uncles
Yeah.
got drunk and decided that he was gonna keep a skunk as a pet.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
He was known as crazy, but he carried that skunk around. Like,
Yeah.
I guess he got pulled over by the cops, and he's like, "Do you want to pet my kitty?" And they bolted.
Nice.
If you ever want to get out of a drunk driving ticket, just have a pet.
skunk.
Have a pet skunk. Yep.
Kind of changes the meaning of drunk as a skunk.
Yeah, when he literally has a skunk. Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of stories about that guy who's wacko. But, never a dull moment, right?
Yeah.
If you got to be a nutball, that's the way to do it. Be a memorable nutball.
That's like, there's a guy my wife knew growing up. He would eat poison ivy.
Ugh.
And he said it kept him from
Dates?
well I think he said it kept him from having any kind of reaction from it. Like it helped them build a tolerance or something, but I'm like, who came up with the idea to start doing that? Yeah.
Well, I guess
By the way,
who
for the
came up
record,
with the idea of starting to use like snake venom as anti-venom,
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise doing either one, but
Yeah.
unless you had to. I definitely wouldn't advise, chowing on some poison ivy so that you could get immune to it, because he's probably the only one that's going to work for. And it's a theory, but I wouldn't try it. My luck wouldn't work.
If my wife gets near, like if she thinks about it the wrong way, she swells up when it comes to poison ivy. I think it's bad for her. There was one time I had to leave work, take her to the hospital because, oh my god, like I got pictures somewhere, but I mean, she was It looked like she'd gotten beaten. I mean, it
We
was.
got pictures.
Oh, it's just.
I can prove it. It happened. I got pics.
Her whole face got just swollen, and her lips disappeared, and it was just. Oh.
Well, my wife can do that when she gets mad.
Oh. I mean, I react to poison ivy. My son does it. Like when if we see poison ivy around the house, we call my son because he can just grab it and go. I'm like, well, that must be nice. I think that's his superpower. Like I'll get a rash or whatever, but it's not that. It's not pleasant. It's not like I haven't dealt with it before. There used to be a tree that we used to play around quite a bit when we were little, Aaron and I, and there was poison ivy there. I'd get it about every summer.
Well, thank goodness you learned better when you got older. Didn't take as many lessons.
I was showing a video to one of my classes, um, and I really got to figure out how to do some of these because. So it's this video on how to do a synthesis essay or how to break down a synthesis essay prompt, to be honest. And it's monetized. It's got ads on it, and I'm like, and I noticed this before because like there was a video we had to watch from the state, like the Indiana Department of Education had put this thing on YouTube. And we all had to watch it for test security or something like that. And it was monetized. And I'm like, that is the way you make videos that someone has to watch for a class. Like, when I was at Ball State, I worked for Hyatt Printing. And I was always kind of annoyed because professors would compile articles together into a book, and you had to buy that book, and they got a kickback. And I always thought that was really unethical. Like, I paid for the class. I shouldn't have to pay you more to teach me the class that I paid for. I've always thought that was kind of shady. But it happened a lot. So YouTube has become, I think, another example of that, where you make videos that your class has to watch, and then you get monetized off of that. I mean, I don't think you're going to get monetized off of just your one class, but like especially if you're like teaching a college course where you have like 300 students or something every semester, so you're going to get at least 600 views a year. 300 in the fall, 300 in the spring. I'm like, it might spread out from there if it's good. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting side hustle. Well, it's a neat side hustle.
So that reminds me, we need to discuss when we're going to just focus on writing on the stream.
I don't know how.
We don't have any like writing stream days, so anyone that's a writer that may want to pop in or may want to plug their work or whatever, we don't have a specific day for that. And I know it's one of the reasons that we started the channel too. I know that this is the art is what keeps the channel going because it's probably the constant, but we do intend to cover more than just writing as a topic.
Well, the issue with that, I mean, part of me is it's hard to wrap my brain around. Who's going to watch? Like, I don't. That would have to be a short. Like, it can't be like a big long. I don't see how it could be a big long stream. Because I can't. Like, what are people going to watch? Like, normally when I'm writing, I'm not talking all that much unless I'm dictating, which.
Well, it wouldn't be a watch Brett writing stream.
Thank you.
It would be a writer discussion stream, or talking about that would be the main topic instead of a side topic. I mean, we could just continue the way we are. We will have to find a way to throw more in. You were talking about having different like submissions and other things that we could focus on writing was like writing tips of the day and um, writers prompts, writers contests. Throw me a line here. I feel like I'm hanging out in the middle of nowhere.
No, I mean it's. Yeah, I don't know how long. I mean, I don't know what to put on the screen for that. I mean, I can put links up in the chat and share markets, which I really should do. There was one I wanted to share last time, but I didn't. I forgot to, and I don't remember. I don't have to think of.
But we could do like courses we've taken that we'd advise, or we could pull up one book that we really liked as far as instructional wise goes, or see what I mean. We could do something that's writing based for one episode. Like I wasn't thinking of adding another stream to the schedule or anything. I was thinking about focusing at least one stream a week on writing. But I suppose we could do it this way. We could just throw writing things in as we're going along.
I'm going to have to think about that. I mean, I'm not saying no, and I'm not worried about that part.
Well,
it's about.
I mentioned it. I thought you picked up on it when I mentioned it, but apparently you really didn't.
No, it's not that. I just haven't.
So I was actually suggesting we do it on Thursdays.
Okay.
But because I just don't know, I don't know if more people are going to watch for the art on Thursdays or Saturdays. Like, is Saturday a lower viewer count than Thursday, or Tuesday a lower viewer count? But I really think that some of those viewer counts are higher during the week because that's when people are looking for something to do, and Saturdays they're going out and doing stuff if they're young. And in this case, young means younger than me. Or, yeah, younger than me. I'm pretty much a homebody these days. But.
Yeah. No, I guess what I'm saying is, when I say I think about it, it's just I got to figure out what to do. Not if I want to do it. It's just.
Okay, well, because that's what I was asking. When I said we should figure something out, is basically, you still think this is a good idea, or?
Yes, I think it's a good idea. I just got to figure it out. Or you got to figure it out. One of us has to figure it out.
Well, I think it would be easier if we know what we're doing, and if we're making decisions on stream, then anyone who's watching the stream kind of has a clue what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So even if we don't.
Like I said, I'll have to think about it. Hey, I hate to do this to you, but it's 11 o'clock and I'm about to turn into a pumpkin again.
Well, give me a second and we'll just end it. Because there's no way that I'm going to finish all this tonight anyway.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get to a spot that's reasonable to stop.
All right.
And
so I guess that's the last call at the Gordon.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, there you go. That's pretty much what it is. The last call.
Leading into the pub bit.
It would be really cool if we had some pub food.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably better that I don't.
Yeah.
I guess it's as good as Breaking Point as any. I was hoping to get more done, but
You got
Not
quite a
enough.
bit done.
yeah, quite a bit, but not as much as I was hoping to. Gotta do one more little thing before I forget about it and don't notice it and let it go, and then it'll haunt me for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
Something to distinguish the backside of her from the rest of it. I was gonna do that same thing with, but I'm not gonna be finishing inking the legs and stuff tonight.
Aaron, that is terrible. Aaron said one final thought. Presidents Abe Lincoln and John Kennedy are the only open-minded U.S. presidents.
Ah,
Terrible, terrible, terrible. Too soon. Right, Aaron.
Damn it. I didn't get the outline done. I stopped. I stopped to fill in that stuff to make sure it was readable because I figured I'd have a lot more time. All right. Promise is promise.
All right. Thank you,
Come
man.
back to it Saturday.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Everyone that stopped in to check us out and watched and liked and subscribed and followed and all that, thank you. Let us know if you like the content, what you would like to add to the content. You know, if you like the idea of dedicating an episode solely to writing, any of that, or any suggestions. Other than that, thank you. Good night. God bless. Much love.
Peace.